Safety laws. Professor Garima Pal is the speaker for this session, and she will be speaking on Online Harassment and Cyberbullying Information Technology Act 2000. Dr. Garima Pal is an assistant professor of law at Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai, with a passion for academia and a dedication to nurturing inquisitive minds. Specializing in criminology, criminal law, victimology, and legal research methods, she brings a wealth of knowledge on critical issues such as drug abuse, juvenile delinquency, and gender justice. Dr. Pal often shares her insights as a guest speaker at prestigious institutions like NLU Jabalpur, Army Law College, etc. In addition to her academic roles, Ma'am is the executive director of Care Village Foundation, a New Delhi based NGO, and the executive editor of the Indian Journal of Criminology. With a focus on curricular innovation and interactive learning, Dr. Garima is dedicated to shaping the next generation of scholars and contributing significantly to the advancement of legal education. So please join your hands in welcoming Dr. Garima. And over to you for your lecture. And we're just waiting for the PPT from Abhinav Zai.
Thank you, Hemant, for such a warm welcome. I want to firstly apologize for yesterday. Due to urgent meeting, I was just not able to, engage the session. So to all the participants, it is a last minute thing which happened, and on my behalf, I'm genuinely very sorry. So, firstly, thank you for inviting me, and this is one of the areas which is very, very close to my heart. Something which even I think all of us somewhere or the other would have experienced also, because we are in a digital world. So it is something which every now and then happens, especially while we are so much into technology. So, in today's world, when I'm talking about harassment and stalking, these are the crimes that have become, rampant with numerous cases filed, especially by women claiming to be stalked or harassed. Today's presentation, I think, is giving us a chance, a platform to talk about it. And with this, I just wanted to just request you to come to the second slide so that I'll just walk through what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to briefly discuss what the entire concept of cyber harassment is, and what is the issue, what are the various laws which are associated to it, and some cases which I think last 2 3 years have taken certain fresh ones, and recent trends. What are the new kind of crimes that have popped up, and few references for the participants. Second slide. So I wanted to quickly start the presentation with some case studies, and mind you, they are genuine ones. I think all of us know about dating apps, something which is very, very common nowadays. So these two case studies are also related to it. So here I've changed the names of the people. So here Mr. X was on dating app called Hinge, and he matched with some female, the profile, and which was a fake profile. So this female calls the guy to his home, and while having the conversation on the video, she captures the face of the guy. And when she had captured the face of the guy, she actually morphed his face and used it on various social platforms. In fact, shared his number, his took the entire family history, shared the number of the family members. Okay, and started circulating videos using his face, and then started blackmailing also. Now, Mr. X, what he does is he actually hacks the profile. He also goes back and he hacks the profile of this female. Okay, on and then he has shared every detail on Facebook, Mr. X. So this actually happens a lot of times. My second case study, Mr. Z and Miss Y, they again met on a dating app called Tinder. So female is asking the guy to meet, that is Mr. Z, meet at a hotel, and everything goes fine. And the next morning, the female leaves the hotel, and immediately after 10 minutes, police arrives. Now, in this particular case study, even the police is involved, and then they accuse the guy of rape charges. So they actually took money from him, 3.5 lakhs. So this is again a very interesting case study, which again has recently happened. Coming to the background of what this harassment is all about. Can you just shift to the next slide? So the term harassment, if I talk about, it generally means to annoy or intimidate any other person persistently. And it has evolved over time to take new forms and has marked the physical, sexual, and online lives of an individual. According to Webster's dictionary, if I have to talk about this, harassment has been defined as an act to create an unpleasant or a hostile situation, especially by uninvited and unwelcome verbal or physical contact. It can take various forms like verbal, physical, cyber, or sexual harassment, and it can occur in the workplace, online platforms, schools, etc. So, harassment causes a lot of mental stress, anxiety, irritability, lack of confidence, a lot of isolation, depression, and other psychological effects. And it can also include many offensive remarks and infringing a person's privacy. Cyber harassment or your cyber bullying in India, it has been referred to various forms of online behavior that has intended to intimidate, harass, threaten, or harm individuals or groups using your digital platforms. I'm sure all of us, somewhere or the other, have been harassed online, whether on physical appearance, whether bullying, you would have seen so much of harassment happens to the film stars. Okay, body shaming, all of it is so much common nowadays. So your gender harassment through your cyberspace has become a very common phenomena in the internet. But harassment has worsened when victims face further victimization due to denial of justice at the hands of your criminal justice system. Countries like US, UK, India, they have codified laws dealing with cyber crimes and cyber harassments to protect the victim. Ironically, the same systems paved the way for secondary victimization. And Citron, he was a very famous writer. He had pointed out that the tribalization of the problems by laws or criminal justice systems uh, further victimized the crime victim. So a lot of questions have, arisen. Why does the criminal justice system fail to help victims in certain cyber harassment cases? How are these victims of such crimes, uh, you know, um, dealt with by criminal justice system and internet service providers? I'm talking about ISPs. What could be done to end this kind of harassment? So in the digital era, your rapid advancement in technology, it has transformed the way we live, work, and interact with each other. While these advancements have brought a lot of benefits, they have also given a lot of rise to new challenges, particularly in the realm of cyber security. Cyber crime, encompassing a large range of illegal activities which have been conducted through your digital channels, has become a big threat that affects an individual, the business, and societies worldwide. While the broad spectrum of your cybercrime, a distressing trend has also emerged, the alarming increase in cyber crimes incidents, which is targeting women. So, if I have to get into the statistics, in 2021, the percentage of your cyber crime that was reported in India compared to all crimes was 0.806%. Internationally, if I'm talking about, you have working to halt online abuse. You can search it online also, WHOA. an organization that is working in the area of your cyber stalking. They had stated that between 2000 to 2013, 4,043 victims approached them. 70% were women. In 2015, UN Broad Commission report for Digital Development Working Group on Broadband and Gender had a similar finding, where women between the age group of 18 to 24 had a high susceptibility of being abused online via cyberstalk. According to your NCRB, which is a division of the Ministry of MHA, 4 out of every 1 lakh person experience cyber crime in some way, and of those four, one is a woman. In 2019, according to NCRB, there has been 18.4% hike in cybercrime incidences across India, whereas cases of cyber crimes against women, it increased by 28%. By 2020, 3,016 cases of cyberbullying have been registered, and it is very surprising that of these 3,016 cases, 223 were against children. So, coming to this is the data which I'm talking about. Coming to the various forms of harassment, uh, cyber harassment, if you have to talk, you have online harassment and intimidation, that is sending threatening, abusive, or derogatory messages, emails, comments, or posts with the intent to harass, intimidate, or emotionally harm another person. It constitutes to a cyber harassment. And this will include your online stalking, repeated harassment through your digital communication, or sharing offensive content, targeting an individual. You have cyber stalking, which is basically, I think a lot of people experience this also. Very, very common across the teenagers. Monitoring, tracking, or following someone's online activities without their consent and in a manner that causes fear, distress, or psychological harm constitutes cyber stalking. This can also involve excessive messaging, unwanted attention, or using a digital platform to intrude into a person's privacy. You have cyber defamation coming into picture, which is again very common. I think last 2 years it has been rampant. uh, Publishing false, defamatory, or libelous statements about an individual or entity online with the intent to damage their reputation or credibility constitutes your cyber defamation. This also includes posting defamatory content on social media, blogs, forums, or other online platforms. You have revenge porn, sharing disturbing or posting intimate or explicit images or videos of a person without their consent, often with the intent to humiliate, shame, or blackmail them. It also constitutes to your revenge porn, and this is a very serious form of cyber harassment and violation of privacy. In fact, I'm sure all of us use Instagram. So you had this very famous influencer. It's a very, very recent one, Subhashri Sahu, 17-year-old female, very famous in the South. And her boyfriend had leaked her private uh, pictures as well as videos without her consent. And these videos are still available on the porn sites. So what is the law doing? A lot of questions arise there, because from India these videos can be removed, but somebody who is sitting in Russia can easily access those videos. People use nowadays, VPN or access it. So Russian websites, mein, this is pretty much available. So it's a very sad reality which we are living in. You have identity theft. This is another form. Using someone's personal information like name, photographs, or credentials without authorization to impersonate them, to deceive others, or to commit any kind of fraudulent activities, or it all constitutes your identity theft, and this can also lead to a lot of financial loss, reputational damage, or emotional distress to the victim. Something which is extremely common across, I think, teenagers, or I would say between the age group of 18 to 25, 30, this online bullying. And nowadays it is so common, especially body shaming. So engaging in bullying behavior online, including spreading rumors, making derogatory remarks, mocking or humiliating individuals based on their characteristics like race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, disability, constitutes your online bullying or cyber bullying. You have sextortion. Now, sextortion is basically coercing, blackmailing, or threatening someone into providing sexual images, videos, or favors through online means that constitutes this sextortion. This is also a very important form of cyber harassment and exploitation that can have serious psychological and legal consequences. You have, again, hate speech, posting, sharing, or promoting hate speech, uh, discriminatory content, or inciting violence and hostility against individuals or communities based on protected characteristics constitutes your cyber harassment. Hate speech can fuel intolerance, discrimination, and social untrust. So all this constitutes to various forms of cyber harassment. I've mentioned some of them. Nowadays, you have new forms, which I thought I'll share it when we are discussing the various trends. Next slide. So, understanding violence against women in the digital sphere remains largely understated and unaddressed. While some countries interweave cybercrimes against women within the large ambit of women's safety, child rights, and internet safety, some tend to concentrate on a particular forms of digital offense. Now, this bracketed approach often blindsided the fact that online violence against women has detrimental effects capable of causing any kind of a social, emotional, or a psychological damage. And this can disable women's rights to political participation and freedom of expression, which can have serious repercussions in in your demographic discourse. There, of course, are other actors as well, especially the social media giants who are not bound by your international agreements. For instance, the Istanbul Convention or CEDAW. Your CEDAW is Convention on Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. They have little control over these gender-based hostilities on these platforms. Your law enforcement agencies, they often uh, tend to minimize the risk of your online crime against women, negating the fact that it can as offensive or threatening as offline violence. Like for India, a good start perhaps would be to pass the amendment to Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act of 1986 to include virtual spaces, which have been pending before the parliament for last almost 12 years. Now, this is imperative because IRWA in present avatar primarily will prohibit indecent representation of women through advertisements or in publications, writings, paintings, and figures. Now, this unfortunately seems archaic as the virtual space continued to expand at lightning speeding victimization women through cyber stalking, bullying, defamation, cyber pornography, morphing, malicious distribution of personal images. You have Zoom bombing also nowadays. Then you have a lot of trolling, blackmailing, threats, and intimidation. So the list is like bottomless pit. And this calls for a dynamic and flexible legislative system, which will be able to acclimatize itself to protect the rights of the women. Generic laws, often get entrapped with into the censorship and run the risk of undermining the rights of the women, like the healthy discussion on your gender and reproductive rights. uh, United States, I would say, have devised rules and regulations which cater to all the stakeholders, and they promote a lot of protection, proper treatment mechanism to avoid friction between the regulators and the users. Gaming here is also regulated by individual states themselves. There's this gaming commission in their last two actions against Intain Group and the William Group. Aggressively, they had enforced British gambling regulations to web-based gambling. There's this Online Safety Act 2023 of UK. They had introduced cyber flashing offense, which criminalizes sending an explicit image with the intent of sexual gratification or to cause the recipient humiliation, alarm, or distress. Now, this is all international. In Indian context, if I'm talking about, so harassment is criminalized under Section 354A of the IPC. Prior, I'm talking about, which, as per the new criminal law, that is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita of 2023, is defined under Section 74, Clause 1. It mainly states that a man committing any of the following acts, like the physical contact or advances involving unwelcome and explicit sexual overtones, or a demand or request for sexual favors, or showing pornography against the will of a woman, or making sexual colored remarks, should be guilty of the offense of sexual harassment. Now, this section was primarily added to penalize the offense of sexual harassment of women. Stalking, I'm talking about, it is a pattern of unwanted contact or behavior that causes someone to feel upset, anxious, or scared for safety. It involves repeated and willful following, monitoring someone's action, and contacts someone despite a clear indication of distress, leading to a reasonable fear of personal safety or violence. So, Section 77, Clause 1 of your BNS defines stalking, which states that a man who follows a woman and contacts or attempts to contact such women to foster personal interaction repeatedly despite a clear indication of distress by such women, or monitors, this is very important, which, because we are talking about cyber and digital world, monitors the use by a woman of the internet, email, or any forms of electronic communication, is committing the offense of stalking. So this particular section also highlights certain exceptions that, such as, conduct should not amount to stalking if a man who pursued it proves that it was pursued to prevent or detect crime and was pursued under any law or to comply with any condition which is being imposed by a person under the law. And in the past few years, cybercrime has provided a new platform to stalk people. The tech-savvy stalkers, they make use of electronic devices to gather a lot of private information for about the person they want to talk, and send emails and messages on social applications. Now, prior to Section 354C of the IPC, which addresses voyeurism, offense of voyeurism. Similar section 77 of BNS, it has been used under it. Both these sections criminalize the act of watching or capturing images of a woman engaged in a private act without her consent and disseminating such images. Punishment under both these sections are very similar, with imprisonment and fines imposed on the offenders. However, Section 77 of the BNS, it provides a very, very clear definition of the term private act, and explicitly includes act like using a lavatory or engaging in sexual acts as private. So BNS also clarifies that consent to capture the image does not exceed to consent for dissemination, making unauthorized sharing of the distinct offense. Punishment for your harassment is defined under Section 74, Clause 2, and it basically talks about imprisonment for a term of 3 years, rigorous imprisonment for a term of 3 years, or fine, or both. Uh, any man who commits offense of making sexually colored remarks should be imprisoned for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine, or with both. Section 74, Clause 3 of your BNS is talking about it. Now, when I talk about stalking, It is talking about imprisonment of either description, which is for a term which may extend to 3 years, and it should be liable for with a fine, or both. Coming to IT Act, so I'm talking about Information Technology Act 2000, which got amended by in the year 2008. So, Section 66C of the Act, it makes identity theft a punishable offense. Instead, you have instances of cyber hacking would be discovered by this provision. Under this provision, whoever fraudulently or dishonestly makes use of the electronic signature, password, or any other unique identification feature of any other person, he or she shall be liable for punishment with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 3 years, and shall also be liable to a fine which may extend to rupees 1 lakh. You have section 66E of the IT Act, which is dealing with the violation of privacy of person, capturing, publishing, or transmitting images of a private area of any person without her consent, under the circumstances violating her privacy, is punishable with an imprisonment which will extend to 3 years and or fine. You have section 67, which is prohibiting and punishing with imprisonment, which is extending up to 3 years and fine, or for the first conviction, and for 5 years and fine up to second conviction. The publication, transmission, and causing of transmission of obscene content. Obscene content has also been defined in the similar manner under your BNS, and therefore the test of obscenity is to be same as under that particular provision. So basically, you're reading it with the similar with BNS. Section 67A, it makes the publication, transmission, or causing of transmission of sexually explicit material punishable with the imprisonment extending to 5 years and fine for first conviction, and to 7 years and fine up to second conviction. Section 67B makes publication, transmission of sexually explicit content depicting children punishable. So these are some of the very, very important sections which are covered under the IT Act. You have IT rules also, right? You have the social media intermediary guidelines of 2021. The rules prescribed a framework for the regulation of the content by online publishers of news and current affairs content and curated audio visual content. All intermediaries, they are required to provide a grievance redressal mechanism for resolving complaints for users or victims. A three-tier grievance redressal mechanism with varying levels of self-regulation has been prescribed for publishers. Okay, and there have been a lot of issues and analysis under this IT rules. These rules may be going beyond the powers delegated under the Act in certain cases, like where they provide for the regulation of significant social media intermediaries and online publishers. And they require certain intermediaries to identify the first originator of the information. There are grounds for restricting online content if are overboard and may affect freedom of speech. There are no procedural safeguards for requests by law enforcement agencies for information under the possession of intermediaries. Then requiring messaging services to enable the identification of the first originator of information or its platform may adversely affect the privacy of individuals. So intermediary guidelines, when I'm using the term intermediaries, they are basically an entities that store or transmit the data on behalf of other person. And it includes your telecom and internet service providers, your online marketplaces, search engines, social media sites. Your IT Act of 2000, which got amended in 2008, uh, it is basically to provide an exception to intermediaries from liability from any third party information. Following this, IT intermediary rules of 2011, they were first initially framed under the IT Act to specify the due diligence which is required for intermediaries to claim such exception. Then in 2021, uh, this 2011 guide rules, they got replaced, and there were additions which were made in 2021 rules, which include additional due diligence required for certain social media intermediaries, and a framework for regulating the content of online publishers of news and current affairs and curated audiovisual content. Okay, this is extremely important because initially I'm not very sure if you if you watch Netflix and all. Initially, they never had specified these things that there is violence or it is adult, or these terms have been, now when you look and check or watch Netflix and all this is mentioned because this is as per the rules and they have to follow. Okay. So, your Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology noted that the changes were necessary due to a lot of concerns were there, especially during COVID times. So, this all have come when the COVID had struck. So, there was a lot of prevalence of child pornography and content depicting sexual violence. Spread of fake news was very much there because of the COVID part. There was a lot of misuse of social media, content regulation in case of online publishers. Initially, OTT was not included. Now, OTT is included, and news portals are included. Lack of transparency and accountability. Initially, there was no accountability for digital platforms. Now, they are accountable. Initially, the users were majorly accountable for things. Now, the digital platforms are accountable. Rights of users of digital platform media. Uh, Initially, it was not there. Now, it is there. The validity of these rules, of course, have been challenged a lot of times in numerous high courts. So, coming to certain judicial advances, see, I've not mentioned a lot of cases, but these are some of the very important ones which I felt over the last couple of years have come. Uh, this is a landmark judgment which I have stated where the first time IT Act was used. Suhas Katti versus State of Tamil Nadu. It's a 2004 judgment. You can check it online also. So here the defendant was a very close friend of the complainant's family, and the accused sent out harassing, slanderous, and obscene messages about the plaintiff on social media networks and chat applications. So the accused misused your Yahoo Messenger app to spread a lot of rumors about the victim. He wanted to marry her, but she had already married another man. So after her divorce, the accused tried to force her to marry again, but she refused. So on being rejected twice, he began posting derogatory statements about her on social media, as well as sharing her personal phone numbers. So the perpetrator created a fake email account in the victim's name. And as a result of this, the victim received numerous derogatory and vulgar phone calls. So victim had filed a complaint against the accused after being subjected to a slander as a result of his actions. So culprit was detained by the police after a few days based on the victim's complaint, and a charge sheet was filed under section 67 67 of the IT Act 1000, uh, section 509 and section 469 of the IPC that time. So the law they had introduced used was section 67 of the IT Act, which provides punishment for any act of publishing or transmitting material in the electronic form with the intent of inciting or arousing interest done by the person, shall be punishable for 3 years, which may extend to 5 years, and in case of subsequent conviction for a period of 5 years for the purpose of harming the reputation, and will be liable to be punished for a term of 3 years with a fine. Section 509 was applicable because it deals with the outraging the modesty of a woman. This is another very interesting case of last year's 2003 XXS versus State of Kerala. So this was Of course, the trial court had convicted the female, but then in the revision petition challenging the trial court's dismissal of a application for discharge by a mother accused of offences under POXO IT juvenile for exposing her upper naked body to her minor children in the name of body art. Okay, so Kausar J discharged the mother, saying that the none of the above applications could be satisfied in the instant manner. Here, the petitioner was 33-year-old woman who had posted a video on several social media platforms with her two minor children, who were like 14 and 8 years, painting on her semi-nude upper body, carrying the hashtag body arts and politics. So the audience considered same to be an obscene and vulgar act, posting the same for the world to watch, after which the police registered a criminal case against her. Based on the final report by the police, the trial court dismissed her application for discharge on the presumption of committing the offense, which got challenged in the instant matter. So the court then said that the video was viewed in the open court, showing 14-year-old son painting a phoenix on his mother's upper body between her breasts and around the nipples, while the little girl was painting on a paper. So the court also pointed out at the message in the same video, which conveyed that naked body is the response to controlling sexually frustrated society while challenging default sexualization of female body. The court also observed her long history of fighting against patriarchy and hyper sexualization of women in the society, starting with the Kiss of Love movement in 2014 to the recent example of participation in Sabrimala case, while further observing that there is nothing on record to evenly remotely indicate that the petitioner did the same act with the sexual intent. You have another very interesting case, Kavita versus State of Karnataka, 2003 Karnataka High Court judgment. This case particularly involved the unauthorized sharing of intimate images of a woman by a partner. So Karnataka High Court dismissed the provisions of Section 354C IPC and stressed that even if the images were initially captured with consent, disseminating them without explicit permission from the victim is a criminal act. So the court had highlighted the mental trauma, sexual stigma that the victim faces, reinforcing the need for stringent punishment for such offenses. There is a very interesting judgment of 2024 by Delhi High Court, Kamlesh Devi versus State. The court took a progressive step and recognized that virtual space has turned into a priding ground for alleged virtual affections. The concept of good touch and bad touch is similar in the virtual world too, and it should be incorporated in the current education system. So the court also highlighted that one needs to understand the importance of privacy settings. Then you have another case of Tamil Nadu versus Prakash 2022 Madras High Court judgment. Here, the High Court had examined the offense of voyeurism in context of a public event where a woman's private act was filmed without her consent. Now, the court here dismissed how public spaces do not diminish a woman's right to privacy, particularly in a moments where privacy is expected. So, the court had reiterated the principles laid down in earlier judgments and stressed the importance of upholding the dignity of women in both public and private spaces. So, there have been a lot of significant pointers to be considered as courts interpretation. Expectation of privacy. The courts have consistently upheld that the expectation of privacy is a very, very crucial factor in determining whether an act constitutes voyeurism. Talk about consent. Consent is central, not only for capturing images, but also for disseminating them. Lack of consent, especially for dissemination, is a significant violation. You talk about technology. The rise of technology related voyeurism has led the courts to emphasize the need for awareness and stringent enforcement of laws protecting privacy. Dignity and trauma, if I'm talking about, courts have recognized the deep psychological impact and social stigma which is being faced by victims, advocating for strict punishment for offenders. Uh, Talking about coming to the various new trends which have emerged, you can come to the last one. Hello, Hema, can you
Sure, ma'am. Sure, sure.
trends just yeah. So, despite cyberbullying cases have been reported, victims of artificial and virtual reality are not specifically defined or protected under the laws like your BNS and IP. Your artificial reality and virtual reality both can arise a lot of questions in terms of legality and safety. The users have actually killed as well as died in the past, and these technologies they have threatened or defraud and posed a lot of question on who exactly is liable in the court of law. So if AR acts visible digital content, VR replaces it completely. The post 2016 virtual reality became a huge hit. Uh, there have been four hardware platforms they were deployed, mostly of gaming, along with the news reporting and social experimental. So, do legal doctrines change in such cases? Can your victims of virtual reality be considered as victims also or not? That is again a question. And in India, when I'm talking about your virtual reality and artificial reality have opened new forms of crimes like your grooming, scamming, extortion, sexual predation, virtual asset threat, okay, your bullying, where the users are harassed not only on social media platforms but on online gaming platforms also. Ironically, online gaming harassment is something which is alien to, especially in a country like ours. It took 60 seconds for Miss Neena Jain Patel. She was a researcher at Carbony for being sexually abused, groomed, and verbally uh, aggressively at a social live events venue. She was gang raped by male avatars. A very similar case of a 21-year-old female sexually assaulted in a virtual room where the victim was led in a private room by a user. Sadly, the other users were mere spectators. So the problem here is these incidences are not isolated, and the legal standpoint of your virtual world is a concern, especially in the Indian regime. Uh, India's online gaming laws are not particularly strict, and the current law is also not able to significantly address the victim and the needs. Uh, this is very very important. If I'm talking about the I'm sure a lot of you must be playing online games and all. Then I'm also not only questioning the males, but I'm also questioning the females. You have these, I'm sure everybody is aware of boys' locker room. I mean, a female was involved there at the end of the day. So, aren't females also responsible? Have we forgotten to be sensitive? I mean, responsible. Is this a responsible behavior if I take that particular case? So I also believe that females also have become little insensitive. So we need gender neutral laws. You talk about changing rooms, capturing private parts, CCTV in traffic. There's no law to it. Okay, so if privacy is going, you know, for there is a big question. What about the privacy of women? And the government will be silent on this. Okay, because you are in public. If I'm talking about CCTV cameras, you are in public, so definitely female can be recorded in a public. So can you take up defense there? No. How are these footages taken? As who is assessing them? It can be misused in the name of surveillance. So privacy is taken away. As law is the law failing of a country? Again, there are questions to it, and we should question it. You talk about porn being illegal, why you can't publish it, right? But then VPN has, again, no law to it. Should we ban it, or the person who is accessing it, should that person be convicted? uh, you talk about child pornography. If child pornography is being available, then what is the use of so many laws which we have? All this is not addressed properly in a country like ours. And when I talk about women's safety, I'm also talking about uh, male safety as well. Okay, it is both. Now we should be more responsible, or uh, sound, being sensitive towards both the genders. Not both, I would say, to all, the third gender also. So, yes, and I have not touched upon DPDP Act because this was recently introduced. We are yet to figure out the proper implementation of DPDP Act, that is Digital Data Protection Act. This has again been introduced in India. Like I said, we do have a lot of laws, but a lot of other concerns have also risen over the last couple of years in terms of protection and safety of females. Uh, Females, as in children, too, I'm including there. Can we get the. So, this is from my side. You can just show them the last slide. There are certain references which I mentioned. These are some references you can refer to. Any questions for me? The area is very huge, so it is very, very difficult for me to touch or cover every aspect, but I've tried my best to touch some important elements in this particular area.
Absolutely, ma'am. If you're feeling shy or something like that, you can always use the chat box and put in your questions.
Can you,
And if
yeah, you can share the presentation. I don't mind, because there are recent cases. I'm sure they'll be very, very, I mean, you can benefit a lot out of that.
sure, ma'am, we'll share the PPT with our participants after the session ends. Anyways, if anyone has any questions, we'll just wait for another minute. There's a question in the chat box, ma'am, if you'd like to.
Yeah, if you're recording it, then I would request you should go to the right authority, that is the cyber crime branch. Okay, all the police stations have one unit for it, so you should approach them, because once you have recorded, you also have to be a responsible citizen. I mean, recently also somebody had recorded such incident in Ujjain, as far as I remember, and the person didn't do anything about it. He was also nabbed by the police later on. So, as informed citizens, I think, because you're studying law also, if you have captured something, you should definitely go and report it rather than just keeping it and posting it online. Okay, I'm telling you a recent case which was issued, I think, months back only in Ujjain. So every police station has a cyber security cell, so you should give them go and complain about it. This is your job.
Ma'am, my question actually meant with regard to a journalist capturing a woman uh, being ripped of her clothes in Guwahati long ago,
Hmm.
and that journalist was sacked, and there were also like news that there are criminal proceedings against that journalist. So, as a journalist, he was just doing his duty, and like he was said that he should have helped the girl rather than spreading.
So as a journalist, also you have some ethical, guidelines there for journalists too. You cannot flash the information like that. Firstly, the names and all cannot be flashed. A lot of places I've seen names being flashed. Uh, Footages just being shown. They're not even blurred. So, as a responsible journalist, it is their job, and as per the guidelines, ethics, they have a entire rules and regulations. Even the journalists have that. They have to be very, very cautious about these things. How do you use that information? So probably the person would have, I'm sure, firstly shared the information publicly. Like that you cannot do it. Court is being very, very cautious nowadays, putting any kind of video. You're talking about the Guwahati one, right? That is what I'm talking about. Even the court took a lot of cognizance on that. I mean, they were questioning why would you post it like that? It is a wrong thing, firstly, and under the law, also, the person is liable. So you cannot do that. And it is a responsibility of the journalist to be actually aware of these things. As per news, and a lot of fake news are there. So if you're talking about news items being morphed, yeah, definitely during COVID times, I think numerous fake newses were circulating.
Ma'am, sorry to step in. Ma'am, I meant that the journalist, he did not show the picture of the girl. He just like highlighted that something like that has happened. But he was like criminally made liable and sacked from his job on the ground that he was like, he did not save the girl, rather that he was recording it. And even otherwise, people, like if they see some violence, they are recording it. So I
Yeah, so
wanted
that
to
is
know.
again a crime. Like I just mentioned, last month in Ujjain, a female was raped and the passerby was recording it rather than helping or reporting the matter. Later on, the police nabbed that man also.
I mean, under which law, which charges? I wanted to know l- the sections where these people are getting charged.
Uh, Under your IP, sorry, BNS, sorry, I'm so sorry. Under your BNS, firstly, and under your IT Act also. So, like I've mentioned, Section 66, 67, both are extremely important. IT Act के अंदर में definitely you cannot record anything like that. Just it is just not there. BNS and IT, yeah, that is what I said.
Like, ma'am, just wanted clarity. Isn't like, is the recording itself per se like criminal act, or is it like the circulation of it? Because I think I.
Circulation of it, firstly, you're circulating it first, and second, when you're recording it again, that is also a offense. So both are being considered to be an offense.
Ma'am, can I just ask one more question? I wanted to know regarding the jurisdiction aspect of it. Like when we talk about like cyber bullying and cyber crimes, ma'am, these are like there are, as you mentioned, there is also use of VPN, and they are offenses which are
You
trans
can have
borders. So,
network on VPN in it. That is why it's being misused.
So, ma'am, how do we deal with the jurisdiction aspect of it? Like,
Under IT Act only you can be the person can be sued. Yeah. Is it's very clear. Hello.
thank you, ma'am.
So like I'll give you an example. If I'm residing in, let's say, US, and I provide a service, online service to the consumers all across the world. So if I'm committing an offense, then I will also be sued in Indian courts, and it will be under the IT Act. Okay, so it's very very clear.
Madam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The- In the public places, almost all the areas nowadays CCTV is there, and also we are going for online purchases. In all the areas, our personal details are there. Can we
Sir,
escape
nowadays,
from this
when
one?
we talk about whether I'm talking this personal details, I mean, this is what government has done, linked everything. Our personal details, everything is, I mean, we are exposed completely to cyber crimes. If I'm saying ki there's a lot of security there, no. Once you start sharing the information, when I mean, the most dangerous one is when we are sharing that QR code. We generally we use that is extremely dangerous. And I think every place now has our data, our personal information stored, whether I'm talking about these Google Pay or Paytm, all of them have it. Okay. So it is very dangerous, but and people are actually not very much aware about this also. I mean, I'll suggest everybody avoid using the QR codes.
Any other questions by anyone?
Basically, we are vulnerable right now in this digital era. We think we have everything secured, whether I'm using an Apple phone. I mean, initially I used Apple because I thought it is very much with context to security and safe. Now I believe that even Apple can be hacked. So I will never say that we are safe in this digital era. No, we are not. We are vulnerable. All of us are exposed. Whether I'm talking about the Zoom meeting, Google meeting, I mean, a lot of information is available. Zoom bombing has come out. I mean, it's one of the forms.
So I guess there are no more questions, and I just like to thank ma'am, and thank you so much for your insightful participation as a speaker in our course. Your expertise and valuable contribution have greatly enriched the event. We truly appreciate your time, and even after the unforeseen meetings that you had, you made out time and came. So, and looking forward to many more such collaborations in the future. Thank you so much, ma'am, and
Thank
thank
you
you
so
from the
much,
legal perspective.
and I'm extremely sorry for yesterday.
No issues, ma'am. No issues. Something like that can crop up anytime, and we completely understand. And even our participants were very amenable to those changes, so it's not an issue at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, and your certificates and other required information, like we mentioned in brochure, additional benefits, etc., will be mailed to you by evening. So, thank you so much for participating. See you all in the next one.
Thank you.